Welcome to Finding High Profit Deals. When we're talking about finding high profit deals, we're talking about finding deals that make you at least $40,000 in profit. I'm gonna break down how you find them and everything about what I do day in and day out, what I've been doing for the last 16 years, and what you can do. And trust me, don't overthink this. You don't need to use all of these strategies. You probably need to use 2 of these strategies. We'll cover off-market and MLS strategies, deal machine, and other strategies that you can use day in and day out, whether you want to use paid advertising, which I don't suggest if you're just getting into this, or stuff that costs you very little or no money at all. This is stuff that I use all the time. I'm very frugal, and this is stuff that you can do, but you got to take action. So grab a notebook and let's build your empire together. I never thought I'd have as much wealth in real estate as I do now. So if you're just beginning your journey, or if you're just a little bit further in your journey, understand that it starts with just one property, one action to get you to the next phase of your real estate journey. So let's go. The first thing I'm going to discuss is deal sources. The first source of deal sourcing is going to be off-market deals. Off-market deals are properties that are not on the MLS and not listed on Facebook groups and other places like that. They are off market. They're not being advertised. My number one source for off market deals is pre-foreclosures. Pre-foreclosures are foreclosures that have not happened yet. So it's somebody with equity in their property that has not put their property on the market, so it's not on the market for sale, and they're losing it to pre-foreclosure and they have a bunch of equity. Why is this such a great place to find deals? Well, the first thing is these people are embarrassed. They're ashamed and they don't know what to do, and you can help them. What am I talking about? Well, number one, if the bank is foreclosing on you, you have a bunch of equity and you haven't done anything, it means that you don't know what to do, or you can't do anything, or you don't want to do anything. So by simply contacting these people and offering to stop the foreclosure, save their good name and credit, and keep them in the house for a limited amount of time, you are able to get a deal that is immediately gonna happen. What I mean by that is, real estate is kind of a slow game, right? Like to get a deal on the market, you might have to make a bunch of offers, but pre-foreclosures, they're happening right now. The train is coming, the foreclosure machine is going, and whether or not they do a deal with you or whether they let it go to foreclosure, one thing is gonna happen. Either it's going to foreclosure, either gonna file bankruptcy, or you're gonna be able to get a great deal. But pre-foreclosures is my number one deal source, okay? It's in every market in the USA. You find these by going to the recorder's page. You can find them on Deal Machine or all these other websites, but the best data is looking to see if a notice of default is filed, if a notice of trustee sales files, or whatever your county and your city and state is doing. Once you go down to the recorder's office, you figure out how to do that. It's a great source for deals, okay? Pre-foreclosures is my number one source for deals. If you want to get started with it, my suggestion is you watch our video on pre-foreclosures and then you go to your county recorder's page and you learn how to pull that data from your recorder's page. You take a couple hours during that day, you learn how to do it, and you'll become an expert on it, and then eventually you can have your VA, once you scale your business, do all of this work for you. But if you're first getting started, start with pre-foreclosures. And one thing to mention about pre-foreclosures, you gotta be ready to close quick. So if you're not pre-approved with your financing arm right now, if you do not have somebody that you trust to close this deal, don't even mess with this, because you're getting it over your skis, and you don't want to have somebody that you're offering to help stop a foreclosure when you can't close the deal. You can do subject to deals on these, where you buy the property subject to the existing mortgage. You can do a lot of creative financing on these deals, but you need to know what you're doing. Make sure you study it, but it's the fastest way to get your deal. And that's why I love it. We picked up 3 deals last week. Another great source for deals is tax delinquencies, okay? People who are behind on their property taxes, generally in most counties, that property is gonna go to sale one time per year. And depending on the county that you're in, they're gonna have a redemption period or they're not gonna have a redemption period. If the property goes to tax sale, generally it means that there is no mortgage on the property, because the bank is gonna pay the taxes. But if the property is going to tax sale, they have no mortgage, that means there's a high amount of equity and they're losing their property at a tax sale. So if they don't go and pay their taxes, it'll be auctioned off at the county steps for the back taxes. So if you contact them ahead of time, before the property gets auctioned off for back taxes, you can buy the property for a great deal. All you've got to do to find these types of deals is go to Deal Machine and pull a list of properties that are behind on taxes, or you can use a Freedom of Information Act sunshine request, and you can use AI to do this. Use AI and say, hey, Jackson County Treasurer's Office, that's where it is. It's the treasurer office of whatever county you live in. Hey, ChatGPT or Grok, I would like you to make a sunshine request, Freedom of Information Act request for any property that sold in 2024 behind on taxes, or any property in 2025 that's behind on taxes. The reason I requested those two is I want to explain something. If the property is behind on taxes, it means it hasn't gone to tax sale, but it will be going to tax sale. If it's already gone to tax sale and you have a redemption period, and that redemption period is a year or 2 or 3 or whatever it is, well, it means that somebody bought it, the other person's gonna lose it, and if I go and contact the owner who owns the property and lost it to tax sale, I can negotiate a deal with them and then redeem the taxes, okay, at the county. Or I can contact the person who bought the taxes, see if they'd be willing to sell their tax interest to me, and then I can go and contact the owner if there even is one. If there's no owner, even better, because then I could own the property for just the back taxes plus whatever negotiated with the owner. But if there's a redemption period, let me explain how you can do this. So let's say it's 2025 right now. In 2024, 123 Elm Street went to tax sale for back taxes, and you have 1 year to redeem it. Let's say it changes in every county. So you want to be familiar with your local rules. You go find the person who lost their property to back taxes, and you agree to buy their property for $40,000. And the property's worth $200,000, but it needs a bunch of work. It's worth $200,000, and you agree to buy it for them for $40,000 or $30,000 or $20,000, whatever it is. And you know that there's $6,000 in back taxes. Here's what you do. You write in your contract, property to be bought for $40,000, and then you go give that to title and escrow, and they're gonna go close the property down, reinstate the taxes, and you'll have that property for $40,000, and the property will be redeemed through tax sale. It's not that complicated, okay? So it's a win-win for everybody. So definitely that's a great source to find deals. Chase back taxes, you'll find deals. Another great way to find properties that I love is get on Deal Machine, dealmachine.com/Troy. You get 20 free bucks. Drive around your local area, find properties that are abandoned, boarded up, vacant. Generally, people who have busted up properties and they live in them, if they own them, they got no place to go. So find the ones that are vacant, busted, abandoned, unless you're in a really great area like San Francisco, California, or some high cost of living area like New York City, or any of these big expensive areas, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington. If it's in that case, and the property is not abandoned, but it's destroyed, I would still consider adding it. Here's why. When you have a lot to choose from, like in Kansas City, Missouri, there's vacant houses everywhere, okay? I'm not gonna go and concentrate on the houses that are occupied and have someone in them. I'm gonna concentrate on the properties that are abandoned because there's just too many deals to look at. If I am in San Francisco, California, and there's a property that's busted up, I am going to contact that person because I know that they cannot keep up with the property anymore, and it's just a matter of time before they're going to sell it or have to do something, because there's gonna be pressure from the city, there's gonna be pressure from somebody, the taxes are going up, and they just don't have the money or wherewithal. I've seen this happen time and time again. Speaking of San Francisco, there was a property on Bush Street that I chased for years. Every time I was in San Francisco, I would drive by it, I would add it, I would knock on the door, I would try to get that deal. Eventually, it did get sold, and I wasn't the one that bought it. I didn't stay on it enough. It was not in my home state. But if I lived in San Francisco, I would have been on that deal. I would have contacted those people, but I would have been the person getting that property. So again, if you're in a town with lots of distressed inventory, only focus on the vacant, abandoned, boarded up houses. If you're in like Seattle, Washington, you're in like San Francisco, a high cost area, any of these major metropolitan areas that are high cost, then I would also, in addition to the vacant, abandoned, boarded up houses, I would also add properties that are highly distressed, roofs peeling off, houses that look in disrepair, houses that stand up, mail in the box. They look like they can't keep up with the Joneses. They're really not able to. It's a blighted house that the city's gonna know, that you're gonna know, everybody's gonna know it's blighted. In those areas, I would add those houses. And all you gotta do is go through Deal Machine, add it. My suggestion is you take a selfie picture of yourself and it sends them a postcard. Then you can skip trace them through Deal Machine, call them on the spot and say, hey, my name is Troy Kearns. I'm standing in front of your house right now, and I know I didn't see a for sale sign, but I'm just curious, would you be open-minded to ever possibly selling that property? You might get hung up on, but at the same point in time, they might be like, you know what? I've actually been thinking about it. Just about how polite you are. Hey, Brian, it's Troy. Would you ever be open-minded to considering selling your property. I've looked at it, I really love it. I see that all the potential it has, and I was just interested in contacting you, Brian. So just make sure that you're doing that. If you're not doing that, make sure you're sending them a postcard. But again, I would do all three. I would add it to Deal Machine, send them a postcard, and then call them and continue to follow up until you get a hold of them. Another great deal source is tired landlords. I'm gonna give you a couple different ways to find these. One, you just pull a list through like Deal Machine or PropStream. We'll give you our PropStream affiliate link here as well. You pull a list through one of those two site sources. These are properties that the owner does not live at the same address, okay, as the property. Deal Machine actually has a button called Tired Landlord, and so does PropStream. My favorite is Deal Machine. You go, it's gonna pull up those records, and then you can call them, you can mail them, you can do whatever, but the cheapest way is gonna be calling them, right? The other way, and this is a way that nobody's gonna be talking about, nobody's gonna be teaching you, you do that same thing with the Freedom of Information Act. You go to your local county court and you file a request for any properties that are on the eviction courts. When is a landlord thinking about selling their property? When they're evicting the tenant. Where do you find that information? You find that from the court system. Those are all public records. Those are all free and available. You can even go down there and pull them if you'd like, but the best way is a Freedom of Information Act, or go down to the courthouse, find out who's getting evicted, and then call that landlord and say, hey, don't tell them, hey, I went and pulled the records and I see that you're having a bunch of trouble. Say, hey, Brian, my name's Troy Kearns. I see that you own the property at 123 Elm Street. I was just curious, would you ever consider selling it? You already know the backstory, right? You already know what's going on. You don't need to call them and say it. Like say, hey man, I was scouring the evictions looking for tired landlords, and you look tired and you look like a landlord. Would you want to sell this? No, skip that. You know the motivation. You're just calling them blind. Another great way, and also public information, to find great deals are probate lists. Let me explain what a probate is. When you have a will or you do not have a will, in every state with the exception of Louisiana, which is called succession, when you die and you have a property, the court and state is going to take a bite out of your asset, and they're going to make you go through probate. And what that means is when most people die, the last and the biggest asset they have is their house, and generally the heirs want nothing to do with it. We'll go through this in greater detail, but I'll kind of give you the short version. The way that the heirs work is if they have children, it goes to their children. If they don't have children, it goes to their parents. If they don't have parents, it goes to their brothers and sisters. If they don't have any of those, it goes to a distant relative. If you ever want to find out what the rights of survivorship is, just go to any old obituary, and wherever it says survived by, those are the rights of survivorship. You could also look at preceded by and then go and find the people and see if they have any relatives, because anybody who's related is a relative, and the further they're away, that is how you do it. Now, another way to get probate deals is buying lists, right? Those are expensive. You can also contact probate attorneys who specialize in probate. Call them and say, hey, I'm interested in working with you. I buy properties. If you have any heirs, those are the people that are gonna have them. Contact them and say, hey, I'd like to buy your properties, and they're gonna go ahead and do those deals with you. Other sources are code liens, IRS tax liens, vacant abandoned properties, water shutoffs. Those are sometimes public records. You want something that's got 6 months or more of water shutoff, something on the derelict list, on the dangerous building list, that would be a good one. Anything like that. Or you could just go through Deal Machine and pull list. They have a bunch of drop-down menus. They have like zombie properties, tired landlords, high equity, whatever they have the list that most wholesalers and flippers use, and they've pulled the data for you, and you can just narrow it down to your county, your city, play with the equity. You want to see at least 40% equity in any deal that you pull. That's the rule that I've gone by for years, and it's never let me down. Now, I will tell you that a lot of people talk about divorce leads. You can obviously get deals on the divorce, but it's going to be hard. In my opinion, there's so many deal sources to go after out there that I wouldn't waste my time on divorces, because to be honest with you, every divorce deal that I've done has been a really difficult situation to deal with, and I just don't think it's the best use of your time, but it is listed as a lead source. Now let's talk about the most motivated people to sell their house, and the thing that you've been waiting for, and how I've gotten 80 to 90% of my deals, okay? I don't know what the exact numbers, but it's 80 to 90% of my deals. The MLS. Who is the most motivated person to sell their house? The person with their house on the market right now. So you might be thinking, well, Troy, I've tried to make an offer before and I never get my offers accepted. Well, that's because you're doing a few things wrong. Number one, you're not making enough offers. And number two, you're not being strategical with the offers that you make. So here's how you can do it. Number one, immediately make more offers. What do I mean by more? If you're trying to get your first flip or you're trying to get your first wholesale deal, you should be making a minimum of 10 offers a day. That means you're spending an hour a day on Redfin going through deals, putting them into your deal sheet, and making offers on those properties, low offers that make sense based on the comps that you're going. Redfin will pull the comps for you at the bottom of the page. It'll pull comps. If you don't know how to pull comps, go to our video on how to pull comps. When you're making 10 to 20 offers a week, you're not looking at them until they accept or counter your offer. You are not looking at them until they accept or counter your offer. The only time you're looking at them is if they accept or counter your offer. If they accept it and you like the price, you're going to look at it. If they counter it and it's close to what you think, you're gonna go look at it. So these 10 to 20 offers that you're making, you're never actually going to look at them. You're gonna get better. This is a great exercise if you're trying to get better figuring out what the properties are worth. Go through, analyze deals, look for grandma's house, look for the one that needs to be fixed up, look for these deals. And obviously if you're wholesaling them, it doesn't matter how bad the work is, right? If you're trying to find one to flip, you obviously don't wanna do something that needs major work, but if you're wholesaling, it doesn't matter to you, right? Somebody else is buying it. Go through, make these offers. There's two ways to do this. The first way is use an agent. So my suggestion, if you don't have an agent, get with an agent who's willing to just write you offers. It doesn't take them long because all they have to do is template your offer. In the offer, they're gonna put like 7 days due diligence, $500 to $1,000 for earnest money, 30-day close. That's it. The rest is just the address and the price. That's all they're filling out. So if they already put together the offer, you're gonna put the address and the price, and then all you're doing is clicking, click, click, click. It will take you less than 5 minutes to write an offer, probably 1 minute once you template it, because all you're adding is the address and this. So that's the first way, is work with an agent. If you can't work with an agent, I wanna disclose something. Any offer that is made to a seller, whether it's a backup offer and the property is currently in either contingent or pending status, has to be presented to the seller. So if you go make the offer, they say, hey, we just accepted an offer, you say, please keep my offer as a backup offer. That's the first way. The first way is going with the agent. The second way is you go to one of my offer contracts, you pre-fill it out, you use Sign Now, DocuSign or Google Sign or whatever, Drop Sign or whatever signing platform, or you can do it in pen and paper if you want to, okay? Or you can sign it on your iPhone. But in my opinion, you fill that out, so you do the same thing, you template your offer, so you're gonna put in your due diligence of 7. If I was writing my own offers, I'd make it like 10 days, okay? But if I was using an agent, I'm gonna do 7. You do 10 days of due diligence, you do $500 to $1,000 on earnest money, you do the address, you do the purchase price, 30-day close, and then you email it to the agent who's the listing agent on the property. How do you find the listing agent on the property? You just go to Redfin, and it's gonna say listed by, on the bottom there, listing courtesy of this person, and then just grab their information, throw it in your Google search, and put cell phone, and then most agents are gonna have their cell phone online, and then you just call them, you find their email address, you find their cell phone, say, hey, I'm sending you an offer. I'm not represented, which means they get both the commission, and I'm sending you an offer. The second way with those offers to get your offer accepted is to write your love letter. Now, if you're doing lots of wholesale deals and you're a flipper, then my love letter would be different than if I'm trying to get my first property. If I'm trying to get my first property, I'm gonna tell them about myself. Hey, my name is Troy Kearns. I'm a local guy in Kansas City, and I'm looking for a house for my family. Not to live in, but I'm looking to do this for my family. Most of you guys are trying to do this for your family. Hey, my name is Devin Stubbs. He's one of our students. We just helped him get a deal the other day. Me and my girlfriend, soon to be fiance, are trying to get a house for our family. Doesn't say we're gonna live in it, just says for our family. You're doing this for your family, so let's be clear. If you're trying to get your first deal, this is just called strategy. This is not called lying. This is not called anything. You are literally telling why you're doing it. Hey, I'm a local electrician. I work over here, blah, 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 blah. I apologize for the low offer. Please consider my offer. I really appreciate it. So all you're doing is you're including a letter, which you're sending to everybody, that you created through ChatGPT or Grok. You're gonna say, hey, write me a compelling letter that tells my story, type your story in there, and then include that with your offer and then send it out. Now, if I'm a flipper and wholesaler and I wanna do that same strategy, what I may do is say, if I'm me, which I've done this many times, I'm gonna put all the properties that I've closed in the last 12 to 24 months. I'm gonna say, dear Mr. Seller, I really apologize for my offer, but I did want to let you know that if you do accept my offer, I will close the property. I am a sophisticated investor, local here, and my plans to buy the property are to fix it up and to sell it, or whatever you want to say. And because of that, I have written an offer here, but I do want to give you the confidence that I am a real buyer, and my name is Troy Kearns. I have a family to feed. This is what I do for a living, and I would hope to do some business with you. So you're letting them know that A, you're the real deal, B, you're a human being, and C, that you're gonna close this deal and they're gonna make money. And you're gonna apologize basically for your low offer. So it's gonna stand out. They might say, well, forget this guy, but if they get to know you, they like you, they're probably gonna accept your offer. Another way of finding on-market deals, there's many sites that you can find for sale by owners. These are people who are trying to sell their house on their own to either A, avoid the real estate commission, or B, they think they can do it better than the other person. Well, a lot of times they underprice their listings, or they just don't know how to negotiate right. So they didn't ever consult with a realtor. They think they're a know-it-all. They think they're super smart, or they used another third-party website to list it for them, and then you're able to get in there. So not only there's for sale by owner, but there's for sale by owner sites. You can just go to Google and say for sale by owner sites to list your house on the MLS, or to list your house for sale by owner. You can do the military by owner, for sale by owner sites. All these sites, you call them up and say, hey, I'm interested in looking at your property. I'd like to take a look at it. You go look at the property, you look at it online, you make them an offer. You make them an offer. You make them an offer. Same thing. The only difference is there's no agent involved. You're dealing with a decision maker. So you're going to be able to kind of, flex a little bit. When there's an agent involved, you have two people that you're dealing with. You deal with the seller and you're dealing with the agent who's going to say like, yeah, you can get more. Don't worry. Don't take this offer. But if you're dealing with the seller, it's up to them. So these are great ways. They're listed on the market. Make these offers. Another way to get great deals is auctions. The auctions I'm referring to are the ones that are listed on the MLS or not listed on the MLS, but they're listed. Go to auction.com, find out if there's real estate auction companies in your area, wherever you're at. Just Google it, or go to ChatGPT or Grok, which is my favorite one, and say, hey Grok, what are the local real estate auction companies in Kansas City, Missouri that auction off real estate? Can you give me a list? And it's going to give you a list. It's going to give you a list. And you're going to look up the list, see if there's any good inventory, see if that inventory is on the MLS, or see if it's not on the MLS. A lot of times these auction companies don't put the properties on the MLS. They consider their website to be the MLS. They consider their sign in the yard to be their advertising and their website to be the MLS. And because of that, guess what? There's less eyeballs on them and you can get the deal because you're not competing with a lot of people. And a quick tip on that, listen, you have to be making 10 offers a week. That's the name of the game. I just told you, it takes you 30 seconds to sign an offer. It's going to take you maybe 20 minutes a day of going through deals and analyzing them and then sending that to your agent or writing the offer yourself. So within 2 hours or an hour a day, it probably takes me like 30 minutes tops a week. But because you're new, I'm going to say it's taking you 2 hours a week to write and analyze 10 offers a week. You will have a deal within your first 20 to 40 offers, okay? Maybe your first 10 offers. So if you're not doing that, you really need to start today. If you're like one of the other students I've dealt with and they're like, many of the students I dealt with, well, I can't find an agent. Start making phone calls. Go to Zillow and search Find My Agent, or do it yourself, but don't let the excuses become your reason. Where do we look for high profit deal? What kind of criteria do we want in a high profit deal? Well, the first thing that we want to do is we want to be in a first time home buyer area. We're talking about a property where it's not being sold for cash, so you're gonna be able to go to Deal Machine and you're gonna be able to see, once you look at the property, hey, how many of the comparables sold for cash? If they sold for cash, it's an investment area, and you still can make money on it, but you're not gonna make as much money as a first-time homebuyer area. A first-time homebuyer area is gonna be that generally under the FHA loan limit by your county. So if you wanna go to Google or Grok and say, hey Google, FHA loan limit in Johnson County, Kansas, it's gonna tell you like 400,000. It's gonna be below that amount of money. So find properties that are selling below that amount of money in your area, and then you're gonna see, did it go for FHA loan, a VA loan, a USDA loan, a conventional loan? You're looking for stuff that did not trade for cash in first-time home buyers. Generally, these areas have mid to low renters, lots of new home buyers, okay? You might see a lot of fix and flips going on in these areas. Generally speaking, this is the areas that you're gonna wanna concentrate on. Your profit target is $40,000. And let me be clear about this. So for example, I don't sell a lot of properties that are in the $300,000 range. Most of my properties are under $250,000, and most of the students that I've taught, they're under $300,000, they're under $350,000. It doesn't matter where you're at, okay? What you wanna do to find the high profit areas, you wanna say, hey, I'm focusing on first time home buyer areas. Number two, once I make an offer on my property and I get it accepted, and then I'm going to go and do my really deep down deal analysis, I'm gonna give a range for the aftermarket repair value, which is the ARV. What I wanna be clear about is when you are comping the property, you're gonna have a range. So your range might be between 200 to 220. At that $40,000, profit should be based on the middle of that range, $210,000. So if the property sells for 210, which is what I think it's gonna sell for, and 200 is the low part and 220 is the high part, that's my range. So you're basing it on comps. You might see comps 210, 209, 211, 220, and then you might see 199, 180, you know? So that's what I'm talking about, your range. So you're like, well, mine's gonna be fixed up, it's gonna be good shape, so I should hit 220, but to be conservative, I'm gonna go with 210, and that should be your $40,000 number, meaning that after you run your comps, your profit after 6 months of holding time should spit out $40,000 in the middle of that range. What say it sells for 200? You still made $30,000. If it sells for 220, you made $50,000. So that's what I'm talking about. When you focus on the $40,000 profit, don't worry about what is my percentage of return. Worry about your profit. Your profit should be $40,000, and you should focus on a first-time home buyer area, and your $40,000 should be focused on the middle of your comparable market range based on the comps that you pulled. So when you pull your comps, those are the properties in the subdivision, in the area within a quarter mile that are gonna sell for that price, right? I'm like, oh, you know what? It's gonna sell for around $210,000. I'll make $40,000 if I hold it for 6 months. That'll be my profit, or I'll make 38.9, whatever. As long as it's close to 40, it might be 41, it might be 32, 39. But as long as it's in that range of, a couple $1,000s within 40, then you're good to go. Pull the trigger. Now, if it sells for the low end, you're making like $30,000. If it sells for the high end, you're making 50. You pull the trigger, you get the deal, and you go in and you then take the next step, right? You go in, you get your bids in there, you exercise your due diligence, maybe do an inspection, and then ultimately, if it's a good deal and you're gonna make at least $40,000 or close to it, then you go, you close the deal, and you get to work, and you use all the other tools in this module and in our coaching program, and you get on the coaching call with one of our coaches and learn how to pre-plan out your flip, or you go and wholesale this deal to somebody else. So how do you come up with your ARV? Well, number one, you're gonna base it on comps. I would recommend that you go to realtor.com, Zillow, or Redfin. Redfin's my favorite. And you're gonna find properties that are same square footage, plus or minus 100 square foot, or 200 square foot, in that range. Similar bath and bedroom count, but the most important thing is the location, location, location. They are either in the subdivision, like if you're in Las Vegas, you wanna be in the subdivision, or they are within a quarter mile in that subdivision. So you're looking for properties that match the style and body of that property, that are in the same location of that property, that are similar in square footage of that property. And you're gonna wanna find 3, 5, the more you find, the better. If you have access to the MLS, that's gonna be your best way to find that information. Most of the stuff that I gave you, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, is just a feed of the MLS. You might have some properties that don't give you the actual sold price, so you just wanna look at what they were listed for and estimate that it probably sold somewhere around there. If you followed it, you're gonna be able to kind of make some good decisions. Once you find those, you're gonna say, okay, well, this one was a 3-1, 1,000 square foot house. It sold for 200,000. This one was a 3-2, 1,000 square foot house, sold for 190, not in as good a shape. You're gonna make these notes to yourself. This one was 1,200 square foot, sold for $220,000. And you're gonna kind of figure things out, like, okay, here's my range. Oh, this one sold for $250,000, but it has a pool and it's on a corner lot. What's different? Well, mine doesn't have a pool. Mine's not on a corner lot. Again, go through our full comping video to get more details, but ARV is this. ARV is what it's gonna sell for. But if you wanna come up with your offer price, which is called your maximum allowable offer, what you do is you take your ARV minus the cost of repairs, and then in some cases, your holding costs, minus the cost of your holding costs, but I wouldn't say you need to get that far on it. And then that's gonna be your offer. It's not your maximum allowable offer, but that's your offer. If you're a wholesaler, just keep going. If you're gonna actually buy the property, like I said, use the $40,000 profit margin for that. Now, how do you figure out your repairs? This is something that people struggle with all the time. The best thing that I can tell you to do, if it's a cosmetic fixer, use between $20 and $30 a square foot times the amount of square footage it has. So if it's 1,000 square foot and the house basically needs a paint job and it needs the floors changed and it needs new countertops and it needs some cabinets and the bathrooms need a little bit of work, I'd use like between $20 and $30,000. Now, if it's that same 1,000 square foot house, but it needs $20 and $30 per square foot, plus it needs a new roof, I'm gonna use that same number plus the cost of the roof. I'm gonna say $5,000 to $6,000 for my roof. But if it's that same cosmetic fixer-upper, but it needs a roof and it needs a furnace, then I might say, well, add $7,000 for the furnace, add $5,000 to $7,000 for the roof, so it's gonna be the $20,000 to $30,000 plus the other $14,000 for the other things. Use the price per square foot for your cosmetic fixer-uppers. If you're doing fire damage houses or houses that are flooded and need major construction, my suggestion is that A, you don't do those deals unless you're an experienced contractor, and B, don't do those deals unless you're an experienced contractor or you're an experienced flipper, okay? So stay away from those deals in general. So just stick to cosmetic fixer-uppers, but if it has a roof or it needs a new furnace, that's still a cosmetic fixer-upper, just might need something else. When I say need, you could tell, like the roof is shot, the furnace is shot, the water heater is shot, and it goes outside your normal cost comparisons, right? So 20 bucks a square foot is like, it barely needs nothing. I could go through, paint the house, 30 bucks a square foot. You know what needs a little bit more work, maybe some drywall work, maybe some things like that, but it mainly is a cosmetic fixer-upper, okay? And then it needs a new water heater, it needs a new furnace, it needs all these other things. So I'm adding those numbers in. Now, if you're wholesaling that same property and you did my $20 to $30 a square foot, don't. When you're wholesaling that property, your job is not to do the research for the person. Your job is, hey, what's the maximum amount of money this thing's gonna get? We said 220 earlier. That's gonna be my comp. I might say 220 to 230. My job is not to be super conservative as a wholesaler. My job is to paint the picture for what could be. So I might say between 220 and 230, this is the sales price, and it needs about $15,000 to $20,000 in work, okay? Why did I do that? Because I'm not doing the homework for them, and I don't know if they're doing the work themselves. I don't know, because if you're doing the work yourself, you can get it done for pretty cheap, right? So I'm gonna base it on the lowest number possible in terms of repairs and on the highest number possible in terms of comps. So again, with wholesaling, I'm gonna use the highest number on my comps and the lowest number on my repairs. I might give them a range. I might say it's worth between 220 and 240, and the repairs are gonna cost you between 10 and 20. So I'm going very, very much on the low side of the repairs because I don't know if they're doing it themselves. I don't know what kind of costs I can get. I don't want to talk them out of the deal. Go do your own homework. My job is to sell this property and make money for myself. I'm not telling you to be a complete blatant liar. I'm telling you to don't overprice the repairs and don't underprice the house, because when we're being conservative when we're buying, but when we're wholesaling, it's up to them to do their homework. And if you're buying a property from a wholesaler, that's how they think. Now, with all of your carrying costs, and this is not for wholesaling, with all your carrying costs, always plan that you're going to own the property for 6 months. It might be ideally, if you're repairing the house, it's a 30 to 60 day repair. I like 4, 6, or 8 weeks on my repair. And then I'm on the market within 60 days. After that property's on the market, I'm in contract in under 30 days, and the maximum time that I'm gonna be holding onto that property is 6 months. But you should really stay away from those if you're not an experienced real estate investor. We definitely wanna stay to our cosmetic fixer-uppers. And let's be clear, a cosmetic fixer-upper might be a lot more difficult for you than it is for me. So we want grandma's house is the ideal situation. Grandma's house, or someone who just trashed a house that it really doesn't need everything. Now, if you want to figure out your cash on cash return for this, you know that you're going to make $40,000 on this deal, or as a wholesaler, you know that you're going to wholesale it to someone to make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on it, and they're going to make $30,000 to $40,000 or $20,000 to $40,000. A lot of people out there are going to be happy for much less than what I'm teaching you guys for, okay? I'm going to let you be very clear. A lot of people are happy with a 10% return. What I mean by that, 10% of the sales price. So if the house sells for $200,000, they're okay with making 20. I am not, and therefore you are not, because you're learning from me. I want to make sure that you do not get burned. I want to make sure you make enough money, and I've seen things go sideways, and I do not want your first deal to be a loser. But the only thing that you do care about is A, you're making $40,000 or close to it, a little bit less or a little bit more, and B, how much money are you making on your money? Now, once you become experienced, and if you haven't applied for Kiavi, make sure you go to our affiliate link and go apply for a Kiavi home loan. If you have not got your hard money lender, you're gonna probably put 25% down with Kiavi on your first deal. If you've done many deals, you might put 10% down. If you're doing deals like me, you put 0% down. Now, what does that mean? If you're putting 25% down and you're buying a $200,000 house, that's gonna be $50,000. If you're buying a $100,000 house, it's gonna be $25,000. Obviously, you're putting the repairs into that calculation I just gave you. So if I put in $50,000 of my money, so I bought the house for $100,000, the repairs are $50,000, and I'm selling it for $220,000. So if I'm putting $50,000 down and I make $40,000, what's my cash on cash return? It's almost 80%. You always want to focus on what your cash on cash return is. How much money did I put in? How much money did I get out? I put in 50, maybe I carried it for a couple months, so I'm in it for 53 or 54, whatever it is. I made 40 or made 45 or made 50, you know what I mean? Or I made 100 on 50. That's 200% cash on cash return. The only reason you care about that is that's your actual money out. That's the most important thing. You don't care if you bought the house for $400,000 and you made $100,000. You care that I put $100,000 in and I made $100,000. Or I put $20,000 in, or in my case, I put $5,000 for closing costs, and I made $60,000. That's why you want to get to your first 5 deals as quick as possible, because once you get your first 5 deals, then you can borrow at a much better rate. Another great way of getting your cash on cash return up is by using something called gap funding. Gap funding is you don't pay for the 25%. So maybe you borrow the 75% and you get a partner, a private money lender, to fund the other 25% plus your carrying costs. So you're in the deal for 0 money. You've got the hard money loan, and then you've got somebody else's capital to fund the down payment and the carrying costs. Now what are you in for the deal for? 0. Properties that you've accepted the offer on. Like you're about ready to open up the escrow, and before you open up escrow and you're about ready to view the property, you probably haven't viewed this property. Again, like I said earlier in the video, when you're making these offers, you're not looking at them. The only time you're actually doing the deal analyzer is when you actually go look at them. So make sure when you actually go look at them, you know what the repair costs are, you know what it needs, you take a video of the property, use your iPhone, use the pause feature on your iPhone, walk around it, or just video the whole thing, go back home, write notes to yourself, figure out what this needs, and then go and do your deal, right? Then go run your deal analyzer, figure out where your profits are gonna be. What is your ARV target in your market to get a deal for $40,000? Are you in Las Vegas, Nevada? It's probably closer to $400,000. Are you in Texas? It might be closer to $350,000. Kansas City, Missouri, you can do that for $250 all day long out here. Maybe you're in Florida. I've seen a lot of guys do it for under $350,000. Really, if you're in California, you're probably gonna raise that number up, just to be clear. If you're in California, the number's $500,000. I would wanna see at least a $60,000 or $70,000 return. That's for California, that's for all those expensive markets. If you're in Seattle, Washington, definitely go after those expensive markets, but make sure that you're having a higher profit margin. You don't wanna have $40,000, okay? In many cases, depending on how high that property is, I would say $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 minimum. If I'm in California and I'm playing in the $700,000 range, I wanna see 100, 120, 130, something like that, okay? So that would be a case-by-case basis, but make sure it's, once you pass beyond $400,000, that number should be way north of $40,000, okay? But just understand, the more money you make, the better, right? All right, now I'm gonna give you a case study. We're gonna pull it up on here for you. So I bought this property right here, 6815 Bristol Avenue. I paid the wholesaler like $85,000. I put between $40,000 and $50,000, and we are literally just closing. We sold it for $172,000. I'll make roughly $35,000 to $40,000 on that deal. It's a good profit. Now, let's say I've got 10 of those going at a time, and they're closing every 2 months. How much am I making every 2 months? $300,000, $400,000. So it's called the economies of scale. You wanna have a lot of deals going on so you can make a lot of money, but you gotta get your first deal first, right? So just to be clear about that, I bought that deal for $85,000 from a wholesaler. I put in $40,000 to $50,000 to do it somewhere in that range. My original price was $170,000 that I thought it was gonna sell for. It actually sold for more than that. We listed it for $179,000. We sold it for about $173,000, I believe, and it closes like this next week. I've got all sorts of case studies. Many of you guys have seen me do them. I'm buying one right now. I'm buying several right now. Like I got like a half a dozen that I'm buying at any point in time. Let me give you your tools for deal finding. The number one tool, again, is Redfin, the MLS. Go through there. If Redfin's not in your market, use Zillow or use Realtor.com. I really like, honestly, Redfin, Realtor.com, and then Zillow. Those are I just don't like the app on Zillow as much. I like the app on Redfin. So any of those sources are direct feeds through the MLS. Great sources. Be looking in your area every day. Make sure you go through Redfin and set up a search. If you don't know how to do that, watch our video on how to do that. My favorite source besides the MLS is Deal Machine. I would use Deal Machine to drive for dollars. I would use Deal Machine to pull lists for me, to call for me. The dialer on there is amazing. What it does is it mirrors your phone number. So even if you're in Kansas City and you're calling in Mississippi, it's going to mirror the area code of the person you're calling. So if they're in Kansas City and they've got a property in Mississippi, it's going to mirror their number in Kansas City. So they're more likely to answer it, okay? The other thing it does is it skip traces. What does skip tracing do? It finds their information, their email address, their phone number, their socials, their address, all of that stuff, it finds it. It can mail them a postcard. It will tell you like other properties that they own. So maybe they're a retired landlord. So it's a great tool. I don't want to get in too deep in the weeds. We're already too long in this video right now, but that's a great tool. Definitely go to dealmachine.com/Troy. Get into Deal Machine. I don't recommend many things. This is a great one. So in conclusion, if you're flipping, you want to make at least $40,000 on your deal. You want to make lots of offers. You want to use one of those sources that I told you. If you're wholesaling, you want to find deals that have at least $25,000 to $40,000 in them that you can lock them off on the MLS. You don't need to tell them that you're going to be wholesaling them. You're just going to act as the buyer. You're going to use all the things that we talked about. So your action steps after today is number 1, go download Deal Machine. Number 2, go to Redfin and start looking for deals in your local market. And number 3, go drive and look around for houses in your area that are vacant, abandoned, or boarded up, and load them into Deal Machine. After you load them up into Deal Machine, send them a postcard if you want to, or definitely call them. Either one of those is acceptable, but if you're not gonna send them a postcard, which is gonna cost you money, call them. It's almost free. Go to dealmachine.com/Troy, get Deal Machine on your phone, sign up using our affiliate link, it'll hook you up with some money, and then go on the MLS, start playing with some of these tools. And just a full disclaimer, real estate is a risky business. In order to avoid risk, you need to make sure you do your homework so you don't lose money. Up until this date, we have not had a student lose money on a single deal, and I don't want you to be the first because we are always there to go through the deals with you. So make sure that you do your homework, make offers, and don't worry about it. Nothing is gonna kill you. Again, this is not gonna kill you. This is only gonna make you a better real estate investor, and it's gonna give you the confidence that you need to be a wealthy person. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely make any comments of any suggestions down below that you need. I do not take offense to anything. It's only gonna make the program better. Peace.